So I'm really excited to announce or whatever this new thing that I'm going to be trying called #FemaleFilmmaker Friday. I did not start this. I am piggybacking egregiously. It started on Twitter and it was just a way to celebrate female filmmakers. So I thought I would jump from there and embrace it as a theme for like vlogs and Patreon. So here's what I'm going to be doing. Every Friday, I'm tackling one topic or question from you guys about the industry. And it can be about the industry at large, or it can be about like working as a woman in the business. I'm going to be writing or posting or recording or whatever for my patrons every single week. Once a month, I'm going to have a vlog that is public for you. And that's what this one is. So if you want to get all of the Female Filmmaker Friday things, you want to check out patreon.com/KateHackett. If you're cool with just once a month, this is it for you. So, my very first question from Meg via Starable, which is a really awesome filmmaker community with lots of people who are just starting out, so you can ask all of your questions in a very friendly, supportive environment. So the first question is, have you ever been on a set or a production as a producer, writer, creator, anything more than or in addition to being an actress, where you've had to deal with someone not respecting your authority or leadership position? How did you confront or deal with that? So this is an awesome question, and I think it's a great one to really jump off on. First, I have been very lucky or very smart in that the people I hire and the people that I choose to hire are amazing, wonderful people. But this is something I do consider when I'm making those hires. And it is something that I think about, like, what happens in the future. So the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to talk about this with like a two-pronged attack. First, I'm going to talk about how I try to make sure that the people that I'm working with are respectful. And then second, I'm going to talk about what happens or what tools do we have at our disposal in the event that we are already in this situation or we don't have control over the hiring situations. So first up, how do I create a set environment where women are treated as equals and with respect? One of the very first things that I do when I send out my hiring packets is I include a workplace safety and workplace harassment emails. These policies are not like super detailed, they're not incredibly nuanced, they're basic, like, this is what we expect of you, and if something happens, here are things that you can do about it. These policies are more to create an environment where people feel like they can speak up. One of the reasons that harassment often gets swept under the rug is because people feel like they don't know who to turn to, and especially on a set, when is their time? So by making this the very first thing that my cast and crew sees, it just starts the conversation in a positive direction. It gives them resources and it gives them people that they know that they can talk to. Something I did along with that was I also had somebody who was separate from the production, her own person, she wasn't on set with us, so she could be somebody's go-to if there were problems. That way nobody felt like, oh, I can't go to Kate, she's friends with so-and-so. This person was on her own and kind of an independent mediator figure. Nothing happened, of course, so it was all nice and easy, but it was just a step for people already in place, which means that they don't have to worry about speaking up quite so much. The harassment policy emails, super simple policies, but the goal is to create an environment where people do feel like they are able to say something. And that's really important, and I think that's the biggest first step towards having a healthy set. I am also really conscientious of who I hire. I try to make sure that a lot of the leadership roles are filled by women, especially jobs that are not typically run by women, so DPs or camera assistants, so a lot of the technical jobs, heads of departments. The men that you hire are working with women, so you know that they have to be able to respect and communicate with more than just me. You can also tell very, very quickly when someone is not going to be respectful, and my advice for that is do not hire that person. So all that said, there are times when even the most wonderful, fantastic of people wind up doing stuff that's a little like, dude, come on. My personal thing that drives me absolutely crazy is when people address questions that I can and should be answering to guys just because there they are. So to that I say, if it's your department or you have say over something and you should be the one answering, not like micromanaging, but just this is your job, speak up. That's going to be a recurring theme in this. Say what you need to say and do it politely, but don't like lay down and take it. So if someone's addressing a question to somebody else and you're right there or you hear about it, you can say really simple things like, actually, I can answer that, or next time, come to me, or that's not so-and-so's job, but it's mine. I would love to help you, or something. You can be nice and still correct the behavior. So something else that I think is important to address really quickly is who I am as a person is not going to be who every young woman trying to be a filmmaker is. I grew up in an environment where I was perfectly encouraged to not just speak my mind, but to be assertive and aggressive and ambitious. I know that a lot of young women are taught to apologize for or ask questions instead of stating statements. I do not do that. I have never done that. Sometimes it gets me in a little bit of trouble because it's not always perceived as nice. I'm not saying don't be kind, but I am saying fuck nice. Do not worry about being nice. It doesn't matter, like it gets you nowhere. Be kind, do not be nice. I'm very firm. I say what I mean. I ask for what I need. I say what I need. I do not couch my statements as questions. I said that. If I have an opinion, I'm not afraid to bring it up. I am also not afraid to say no to people. I encourage you to remain as collaborative as possible, but to also know that sometimes you gotta be the bad guy, and that's okay. You're everybody's mom and dad on set, so you have to be able to kindly tell people, no, that idea doesn't work. And that takes some finessing. It is a skill. It's an important skill, and it's one that I think a lot of girls don't get to practice very often, how to be kind and still be assertive. So now we're segueing into the second part. Second part, how to prepare yourself for if people suck, and also what can you do if and when you are working with people who suck. I think that we saw this in the last election in particular. When a woman is articulate and intelligent and can say what she needs and means, she's a bitch or she's difficult. That sucks. That's so stupid. But that is also the world that we live in, and it's irresponsible to think that we're gonna change every single person that we ever come in contact with. So my advice here is if you are faced with people who do maybe say those things, you approach your work as kind and generously as you possibly can. You do your job and they think what they think. If they take umbrage with you, you have to develop a thick skin and just let it go. So if something happens on set and you decide you do want to bring it up, pull that person aside and say, hey, when XYZ happened, I felt pretty disrespected or ignored or whatever. And then come with constructive ideas. Come with solutions for them. So they're not just like, okay, what do you need here? Tell them what you need. If the situation is when you turned around and asked somebody else a question that I was perfectly capable of answering, it made me feel like you didn't respect my work. I would love to participate more in this whole process. Can we make sure that we have better communication? Easy. And if they say no to that, if they're rude about that, you know that you came in with such a level head, it's not your problem. If it's pervasive, if that behavior is constant and you are the boss, you need to decide if that is destroying your working environment. Is this person worth inviting back? Odds are you're not the only person dealing with it. It's your job to protect your cast and crew from everything. And if that means you need to protect them from one of their own, you need to make a hard call. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes you can just be like, we're between seasons. Sometimes it's a little harder, sometimes it's trickier, sometimes you have to have the difficult conversation, but that's part of being the boss, and you have to be ready for that. If you are not in charge of this decision, then hopefully you have some kind of HR, or you have someone that can act as a go-between, or you have a partner that you can tag in and jointly make a decision like that. But ultimately, I think it behooves us to know how to gracefully let someone go. And I think that conversation is simply, hey, the way that women have been treated on our set is not what I want to put forward. We're going to have to ask you to leave. So to summarize all of this, you are not always going to get to work with your friends. You will not always get along with people, and sometimes people are just sexist and shitty. You comport yourself with as much compassion as you possibly can, assert your authority when you need to, ask yourself, is this worth the argument? Do your job, do it well, and then let it go. So that's my advice for this first Female Filmmaker Friday. I hope it was helpful. I hope it answered some questions. I hope it made you want to be a filmmaker. I will do this again in a month. If you want more of this or other things, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/KateHackett, where I will be doing this every week.